On a crisp October afternoon, 14-year-old Abby Hernandez zipped up her jacket, slung her backpack over her shoulder, and stepped out the door of her New Hampshire home. She was like any other teenager, full of life, laughter, and dreams. It was an ordinary day in the small, tight-knit town of North Conway, where neighbors knew each other by name and kids felt safe walking home from school. Abby's mom, Xenia, watched her leave, never imagining it would be the last time she'd see her daughter's carefree smile. Hours passed. Evening came. Dinner sat untouched on the table. Abby wasn't answering her phone, and her mother's worry turned to panic by nightfall. Xenia knew something was wrong. This wasn't like Abby. The bubbly, responsible girl she knew would never disappear without a word. Calls were made, friends were questioned, but no one had seen her. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. As the hours stretched into days, the once quiet town of North Conway became a hub of activity. Flyers with Abby's face were plastered on every telephone pole, and search parties combed through the dense woods and winding roads, hoping for any sign of the missing teen. Her mother pleaded on the news, her voice breaking as she begged, "If you have my daughter, please bring her home." The desperation in her eyes reflected the town's growing fear. But as days turned to weeks, hope began to falter. Abby's school friends clung to each other in tearful silence, wondering if they'd ever see her again. Strangers lit candles and left flowers at makeshift memorials, their prayers a faint whisper against the growing shadow of uncertainty. Where could she be? How could a young girl vanish in a town where everyone knew everyone? What no one could have known then was that Abby was alive, trapped in a nightmare no one could have imagined. For 9 long months, she was hidden in plain sight, enduring unspeakable horrors while her family and community held on to a sliver of hope. How did she survive? What kind of person could steal a child from her family and keep her captive for so long? These questions would haunt North Conway for years to come. In October 2013, North Conway, New Hampshire, was a picture-perfect town. Nestled against the backdrop of the White Mountains, it was a place where life felt safe, predictable, and routine. People left their doors unlocked, kids walked to school without a second thought, and everyone looked out for one another. But that sense of security was shattered in an instant when 14-year-old Abby Hernandez vanished without a trace. Like any other teenager, Abby was kind, bright, and full of life. She loved drawing, sports, and spending time with her friends. On October 9th, she walked out of Kennett High School just like she always did, ready to head home to celebrate her best friend's birthday. She texted her mom, Xenia, as she started her usual 2-mile walk. But Abby never arrived. Somewhere along that familiar route, she disappeared. At first, no one wanted to believe the worst. Maybe she had stopped to visit a friend or lost track of time. But as night fell, the unease grew. Abby wasn't answering her phone, and she wasn't responding to texts. By morning, fear had set in. Xenia reported her daughter missing, and what followed was a community-wide effort to bring Abby home. Flyers with her smiling face and the words "missing" were posted on every corner. Strangers joined search parties, combing the thick woods and back roads, desperate to find any sign of the young girl who had seemingly vanished into thin air. Law enforcement launched a massive investigation. They analyzed her phone records, interviewed friends and family, and tracked down every possible lead. Abby's disappearance sparked one of the largest manhunts in New Hampshire's history. Her mom appeared on the news, her voice trembling as she begged for her daughter's return. "She's my baby," Xenia cried. "I just want her to come home." Her words struck a chord, and people from all over the country followed the story, hoping for a miracle. As days turned to weeks, the hope of finding Abby alive faded. Rumors circulated: was she abducted? Did she run away? The unknown weighed heavily on everyone. Abby's friends clung to each other, silently crying as they stared at her empty desk in class. The community organized prayer vigils, lit candles, and sent prayers into the night sky. But no matter how hard they searched or how many tears were shed, there was no trace of Abby. What no one could have imagined was that Abby was still alive, trapped in a horrifying nightmare. For 9 long months, she endured unimaginable suffering while her family and community clung to the faintest shred of hope. How did a bright, spirited 14-year-old survive one of the most terrifying ordeals imaginable? What led to her abduction, and why her? This is the story of Abby Hernandez, her disappearance, the relentless search for answers, and the incredible resilience of a young girl who refused to give up. It's a story that would forever change a town, a family, and the countless people who followed her journey. Stay with us as we uncover the details of her ordeal and the courage that brought her home. Abby Hernandez was just 14 years old, a bright and athletic girl growing up in the picturesque town of North Conway, New Hampshire. She loved drawing and writing, played sports, and had a tight-knit group of friends who adored her quick wit and kind heart. She shared a deep bond with her mother, Xenia, and younger sister, Sarah. Abby's life was filled with the simple joys of adolescence, school dances, inside jokes with friends, and dreams of what the future might hold. She was the kind of girl who brought light into a room and whose laughter was contagious. Her family often spoke about her strength and determination and how she always seemed to know what she wanted out of life. But on October 9, 2013, all of that changed. Abby left school as always that afternoon, heading home along the familiar 2-mile path. It was a route she had walked countless times. She texted her mom to let her know she'd be home soon, like any other day. But the vibrant, carefree girl vanished along the way, leaving questions and heartbreak behind. On the other side of this harrowing story was Nathaniel Kibbe. A man known in the area but not in any way you'd call friendly. Kibbe lived alone in a secluded trailer in the woods, far removed from the bustling small-town life of North Conway. He was a loner whose volatile temper made him unpredictable and unsettling. Kibbe's life had been marked by isolation and minor brushes with the law, but no one could have imagined the dark intentions that lurked beneath his quiet, unassuming exterior. Those who had encountered him described him as someone who craved control, someone whose anger simmered just beneath the surface. What no one could know then was that his fixation on power and dominance would set the stage for one of the most terrifying cases New Hampshire had ever seen. October 9, 2013, was an ordinary day for Abby Hernandez. It was a crisp autumn afternoon when the leaves crunched underfoot, and the cool breeze carried the scent of pine. Abby left Kennett High School with a smile, her thoughts likely on the birthday plans she'd made with her best friend. She was just a few miles from home, on a path she had walked countless times before. A car stopped beside her as she made her way down the road. The driver, Nathaniel Kibbe, offered her a ride. He seemed harmless enough, unassuming, polite, and calm. Abby hesitated. Her instincts told her to keep walking, but she was just a teenager. Cutting her walk short was tempting, and Kibbe didn't look threatening. So, she got in. It only took moments for Abby to realize she had made a terrible mistake. The friendly demeanor Kibbe had shown shifted quickly. He took her phone, silencing her hope of calling for help. He drove her to his remote trailer, tucked away in the woods where no one could hear her screams. By the time they arrived, Abby was blindfolded, her hands restrained. Her familiar, safe world had been ripped away in an instant. Inside the trailer, Abby was thrown into a living nightmare. The space was small, claustrophobic, and dark. The windows were covered, the walls soundproof, a prison built to ensure she would never be found. Kibbe made it clear from the start that he was in control. He told her not to scream, not to fight, and not to run. He threatened her, painting vivid pictures of what would happen if she disobeyed. Abby's captivity stretched into days, then weeks, and eventually months. Kibbe forced her to wear a shock collar, a device he used to enforce his rules and maintain dominance. He monitored her every move, ensuring she had no opportunity to escape. Food was scarce, freedom was non-existent, and every moment was filled with the crushing weight of fear. But even in the face of unimaginable cruelty, Abby refused to break. She studied Kibbe, observing his routines, moods, and vulnerabilities. She chose her words carefully, building a fragile connection with him that she hoped would one day lead to her freedom. Abby's intelligence and strength became her lifeline. She held on to the hope that if she could survive one more day, there might be a chance to escape. Her resilience was remarkable. Despite the abuse, the isolation, and the constant threats, Abby found ways to endure. She clung to memories of her family, replaying them in her mind like a lifeline. She imagined her mother's face, her sister's laughter, and the warmth of her home. It was this hope, this belief that she would see her family again, that kept her going. While Abby was trapped, her family and the entire community of North Conway were relentless in their search for her. Flyers were distributed, search parties combed the woods, and law enforcement followed every lead. The FBI got involved, using advanced technology to track her last known location. But Kibbe had planned his crime meticulously. His remote location and careful concealment left investigators with little to go on. For 9 agonizing months, Xenia Hernandez pleaded with the public for help. She appeared on television, her voice breaking as she begged for her daughter's safe return. The community held vigils, lit candles, and prayed for a miracle. But as the months dragged on, hope began to waver. The breakthrough came in July 2014 when Abby was unexpectedly released. She walked into her mother's home, frail but alive, ending the nightmare that had gripped North Conway for nearly a year. Her return was a miracle, but it also raised countless questions. Why had Kibbe let her go? And what had she endured during her time in captivity? Experts who later studied the case believe that a deep-seated need for control and power drove Kibbe's actions. His isolation, unresolved anger, and obsession with dominance created a dangerous cocktail that led to Abby's abduction. Abby's survival, on the other hand, was a testament to her incredible mental strength. The psychological toll of her ordeal was severe, but her determination to overcome it was inspiring. In 2016, Nathaniel Kibbe was sentenced to 45 to 90 years in prison after pleading guilty to charges of kidnapping and sexual assault. For Abby, the trial was a chance to face the man who had stolen so much from her and begin reclaiming her life. Today, Abby uses her experience to help others. She has become an advocate for trauma survivors, sharing her story to inspire hope and resilience. Her journey is a powerful reminder of the strength of the human spirit and the importance of never giving up, no matter how dark the road ahead may seem. Picture this, a bright, ordinary day where nothing feels out of place. 14-year-old Abby Hernandez was walking home from school, following the same path she'd taken countless times. Her thoughts were likely on the usual things: homework, her friends, maybe what her mom was cooking for dinner. But in an instant, that normal, familiar routine shattered. Abby was gone, her world turned upside down by a man she had never met. Now ask yourself, what would you have done? Would you have gotten into that car? Would you have trusted a stranger's offer for a ride? It's easy to say, never, but how often do we second-guess what might seem harmless now? For 9 agonizing months, Abby lived through a nightmare. She endured fear, isolation, and unimaginable abuse. She was held captive by a man whose need for control dictated every moment of her existence. And yet, she survived. She found a way to endure, to hold on to hope, to keep herself alive despite the odds stacked against her. Could you have done the same? Could you have mustered the strength to stay hopeful in such terror? Now, think about the man behind this crime, Nathaniel Kibbe. He was a loner known for his erratic temper and antisocial behavior. What compels someone like him to commit such an act? Was it a moment of impulse or a meticulously planned crime? What do you think drove him to target Abby? Was it random, or did something about her make her a target in his eyes? These questions linger, adding layers to a case that haunts those who followed it. And then there's the town of North Conway, a tight-knit community that poured its heart into finding Abby. Search parties scoured the woods. Flyers with Abby's smiling face covered every storefront. Vigils were held, and prayers were whispered. The entire state rallied behind her family, refusing to give up hope. But despite all of this, despite the desperate efforts of law enforcement and the community, Kibby stayed hidden. He kept her in a remote trailer for 9 months, away from the world. How did he pull it off? Were there moments when someone could have intervened? Did anyone unknowingly cross paths with him or Abby during those months? And then there's Abby's strength. Despite the horror of her captivity, she never gave up. She chose to survive. She studied Kibby, learned his habits, and built a connection with him, which she hoped would keep her alive. Imagine the mental strength it took to walk that fine line, stay calm in the face of threats, and hold on to the belief that one day, she'd see her family again. Could you have done the same? Abby's story is one of survival, but it also leaves us asking, how can we protect ourselves and those we love from dangers we never see coming? What can we learn from Abby's experience, strength, and determination to live? We want to hear from you. What would you have done in Abby's situation? Do you think her abduction could have been prevented? What are your thoughts on Nathaniel Kibby's actions and motives? Let us know in the comments below. Abby's story is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the human spirit can endure and that hope can be the most powerful tool for survival. Imagine, for a moment, being just 14 years old. You're in the midst of your teenage years, figuring out who you are, dreaming about your future, laughing with your friends, and sharing simple moments with your family. You're on your way home from school, an ordinary, everyday walk, but everything changes instantly. In the blink of an eye, you're taken. You're ripped away from everything you know. The safety of your family, school, and friends is all gone. And you're thrust into a world where fear, isolation, and unimaginable horror become your reality. For Abby Hernandez, this was no longer hypothetical. On October 9, 2013, Abby's world turned upside down. What was meant to be a normal walk home quickly became the beginning of an unthinkable nightmare. A stranger pulled up in a car, offering a ride, and Abby, like many teenagers, may have been caught between caution and trust, hesitant but still hopeful that nothing could go wrong. It only took moments for that hope to be shattered. Blindfolded, restrained, and held captive in a remote trailer, Abby's world was reduced to a dark, suffocating space where she was at the mercy of her captor. What must have been going through her mind in those first few hours? Those first few days? The loss of control, the sense of utter helplessness, knowing that no one knew where she was. Her family, her friends, and her mother, Xenia, must have been frantic, but there was no way for them to reach her. Abby was alone in a world of terror, with no guarantee she would ever make it out. And yet, amid this fear, Abby did something remarkable. She fought, not just with her body, but with her spirit. Despite the threats, the isolation, and the constant terror, Abby did not give up. She found a way to survive. Every day, she held on to the hope that she would see her family again. She clung to the memories of her mother's love, the sound of her sister's laughter, and the warmth of the life she had been taken from. Amid her suffering, Abby's mind remained sharp, her will to survive stronger than the fear that tried to consume her. She realized that to escape, she needed to learn, observe, and adapt. She did not succumb to despair. She kept her heart and mind alive. Abby found a way to connect with her captor, Nathaniel Kibby, even though every instinct in her screamed to resist. She played the game, hoping that one day, one moment, her will to survive would be enough to set her free. Her story is one of unimaginable suffering but also one of extraordinary bravery. Abby's captivity was a brutal reminder of the evil that can exist in the world. Still, her ability to endure proved that the human spirit can withstand even the harshest trials. Through the months of torment, her resilience shone through, an unspoken strength that held her together when everything else seemed to fall apart. As we hear her story, it's impossible not to empathize with Abby. How does a young girl cope with such a traumatic experience? How does she move forward after surviving something most could never imagine? And yet, Abby did. She not only survived, she thrived. Today, she's a testament to the power of the human spirit, showing the world that no matter how dark the path may get, there is always a way forward. Abby's journey is one of pain, but it is also one of incredible strength and an unbreakable will to reclaim her life. Her strength reminds us that the human spirit can endure even in the darkest times. Her story is a beacon of hope for anyone who has ever faced unimaginable odds, a reminder that courage can light the way even when all seems lost. Abby Hernandez's story is nothing short of extraordinary. It's a testament to the power of human resilience, how, in the face of unimaginable fear and pain, one young girl found a way to survive. Her bravery, unwavering hope, and unyielding spirit remind us of the strength we carry within ourselves, even in the darkest circumstances. Abby's journey isn't just a story, it's a call to recognize the deep wells of courage in all of us. If Abby's experience has moved you, if her strength has touched your heart as it has ours, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. By sharing this story, you're helping to ensure that Abby's incredible resilience reaches others who might need to hear it, people who might be going through their struggles. These people might need to see that there's always a way through, even when everything seems lost. Your support allows us to keep telling these powerful, real-life stories of courage and survival that shed light on the strength of the human spirit. And if you haven't yet, make sure to click the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into these stories of extraordinary individuals who refuse to be broken. But this is just the beginning. Next, we'll bring you another chilling case that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about justice and survival. It's the incredible story of a woman who solved her kidnapping from beyond the grave. Her determination to be heard will leave you speechless, reminding us all that sometimes, the truth fights to be uncovered, no matter the cost. Thank you for sharing this journey with us. Your engagement means the world, and we can't wait to share more stories of hope, survival, and the incredible power of the human spirit. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.